Potential Republican presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson, a neurosurgeon, said this week that homosexuality is a choice because many people go to prison straight and when they come out, they're gay. Kind of like how in that last sentence, Dr. Carson went in as a neurosurgeon and came out as a complete idiot.
And that was just the first joke. There were like 3 more. And this whole story started here on CNN when Carson was pressed to defend his position on gay marriage. He said being gay is different than, say, being black or Hispanic because people have no control over their race. And here is what happened next.
You think they have control over their sexuality?
Absolutely.
You think being gay is a choice?
Absolutely.
Why do you say that?
Because a lot of people who go into prison straight, and when they come out, they're gay. So did something happen while they were in there?
The left, the right, both sides were critical right away. And several hours later, Carson appeared on Sean Hannity's radio show where he blamed CNN for trying to make him look bad. Listen.
It was a 25-minute interview. They chopped, and you see what part they emphasized. We talked about some really important things. None of that was brought out. But I did learn something very important. For certain networks, never do a pre-taped interview. I'm not going to really talk about that issue anymore because every time I'm gaining momentum, the liberal press says, let's talk about gay rights. And I'm just not going to fall for that anymore.
So some context here. The interview was taped, but it wasn't chopped. Cuomo asked Carson about Iran nuclear negotiations, ISIS, and U.S. health care, and all of that aired on TV before turning to same-sex marriage. But this assertion that being gay is a choice, it is significant. And my next guest says it comes from some of the same media echo chambers as conspiracy theories about 9/11 do and as theories about the president's religion do. Dan Savage is a gay rights activist and the most prominent sex advice columnist in the U.S., and he joins me now from Seattle. Dan, thanks for being here. I guess being a sex advice columnist keeps you in business all the time, huh?
It does. Abstinence education programs are basically full employment bills for sex advice columnists in America.
Well, I want to ask you about a couple of things. The first is the newsworthiness of what Carson said, because he seemed to be saying that CNN emphasized his comments about gays and that was unfair. Tell me why his comments were newsworthy to you.
Well, you know, first of all, the president gave his amazing speech in Selma yesterday, and he talked about gay rights and linked it to the civil rights struggle, that African-American civil rights activists opened a door that women walked through, immigrants walked through, and that gay rights activists also walked through. So you can't duck this issue. The LGBT civil rights movement is the civil rights movement of our time, as Joe Biden has said. What was really most significant about his remarks, though, for me, is how hateful they are, how destructive they are, and how easily disproved they are. Whenever someone says that being gay or lesbian is a choice, I always look at them and say, okay, prove it, choose it. If it's something that you can choose, if you can reach into your head and flip a switch and be gay or lesbian or bisexual, then flip that switch and show us how it's done. It's not a choice. And they know it's not a choice, and that's really not the argument they're making. What religious conservatives and Republicans are saying when they say that being gay or lesbian is a choice is that gay or lesbian queer people shouldn't be covered by civil rights laws, we shouldn't be protected under the 14th Amendment, that the Bill of Rights doesn't apply to us because being gay is not an immutable characteristic. It's a choice that we've made. But other things that are choices are covered by the Bill of Rights, the 14th Amendment, civil rights statutes, including faith. There are constantly people trying to ask you to choose their faith, to change your faith, to take a different faith. And religion is a covered, protected status under a settled civil rights law, and it is a choice. Marital status, military service, also protected. So if they're arguing, if religious conservatives are arguing that if something is a choice, like being gay, which they would like to argue is a choice and is not, therefore it doesn't deserve civil rights protections, then they need to be consistent and argue and advocate for stripping away civil rights protections for people of faith.
Well, let me ask you, you probably think that what he said was vile, but you wrote in a follow-up blog post that Carson could prove what he's saying by you having him perform a sex act on you. Now, some people thought that was equally vile. Why do you think it's appropriate or necessary to lower yourself to that level?
Because sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. Famously, my readers and I redefined Rick Santorum's last name to something vile. Rick Santorum and Ben Carson have compared gay people to child rapists, to people who have sex with animals. Necrophilia, Ben Carson has compared gay people to. He really says the vilest and most disgusting things about gay people. And sometimes to get the attention of someone like that, to really make it clear to them how low and disgusting they're being, how vile they're being. You have to meet them on the field where they are doing battle and take them on.
I've got a few seconds left. You founded the It Gets Better project, something I wrote about years ago. I got to ask, is it getting better? I mean, as someone who studies this and is in the media, is the climate for gay rights and for gays and lesbians getting better in the U.S.?
It is. We're seeing a backlash with these religious, quote-unquote, religious freedom laws, but it is getting better. You know, when I came out at 18 to my very Catholic parents, to tell them I was gay meant to tell them I would never marry, I would never have children, I could never be a Marine. And just in the course of my adult life, I am married. I have a child that I've raised with my husband, and I could be a Marine. I don't want to be a Marine, much to the relief of the United States Marine Corps, but things have gotten better and continue to get better.
Well, Dan, thanks for being here this morning. I appreciate it. I checked in with Chris
My
Cuomo,
pleasure.
by the way. His comment to me was, you can't blame the interviewer for what you say in the interviewer. And that makes a lot of sense to me. Well, taking a break.